Hey guys, this week for the part two of my Halloween movie reviews, we'll be reviewing the Rocky Horror Picture Show. No, I mean this. Well, it's been a long time since I tried recording this review earlier. It is about 7 o'clock on a Tuesday night, and I was having some technical difficulties earlier, as it says in the link above and below this screen on Facebook and Twitter. You can just read the description, and same with YouTube. I had some technical difficulties trying to get this uploaded because for some reason this thing just stopped working on me while I was reviewing it. So that's why I was pretty busy throughout most of the day. So after the piece of shit computer crashed, after it kind of frizzed on me. I just had to. I had other things to worry about, so I wasn't able to get to this review until now. So yeah, hopefully it doesn't keep spazzing out like it just did a second ago. So as far as the Rocky Horror Picture Show is concerned, I will say this: it's one of those movies where it's the very epitome of the phrase "so bad it's good," and the funny thing is that it seems like it can't really fail because it has a simple premise. This young couple, Brad Majors and Janet Weiss, played by Barry Bostwick and a very young Susan Sarandon, are engaged. They run off to meet one of their old friends, Dr. Everett Scott, one of their old teachers, and their car breaks down in the middle of the night, and they end up going to the light over at the Frankenstein place, intending to call for help, someone to repair their flat tire and give them a hand. And instead, they end up in a insane situation full of lots of sexual hijinks. And the movie is one of those films where it's like up to what I like about this movie is that it has a very simple, cohesive narrative up to a point. It's the point where they run into the castle, and it's the point where. Hold on a second. Okay, I'm hearing noises. So the point where they meet Dr. Frankenfurter after the time warp sequence, they meet him. They see that he's created this male fantasy for himself because as it turns out, Brad and Janet are now being guests in the home of a pansexual transvestite mad scientist, which is not exactly a sentence you'd expect to be saying in your life at any point. um, yeah, it gets really weird, but that's part of the fun. And at the very beginning, the movie gives you this very weird, interesting tone with disembodied lips singing the opening song as the credits roll. But back to the Frankenfurter bit. So once Frank reveals his creation, and after one of his botched experiments crashes the party, it gets really weird because you have Brad and Janet being shown to their rooms. Then, while they're asleep, Frankenfurter sneaks into Brad's room disguised as Janet, and sneaks into Janet's room disguised as Brad, and has sex with them. And it get so it does seem like there's a moral in this movie about cheating and infidelity, but then just to make it even more weird and random, they Dr. Scott shows up. They end up having dinner. They find out Eddie's connection to Dr. Scott, and then as they try to escape Frankenfurter, he turns Scott, Brad, Janet, one of his cohorts Columbia and his creation Rocky into stone statues for this floor show, and I don't know what the hell they were thinking when they wrote this. It just seems so random and out of left field. It doesn't really match the story. If they wanted to make this story work, I think what they would have had to do is, if they didn't want to make major changes to the script that Sharman and Richard O'Brien wrote, I think what they would have had to do, maybe the stage version had a more cohesive narrative, but in the movie it just seems like plot lines come out of nowhere and hijack the movie for a bit. So it does seem a little unfocused. If if the story had better cohesion and the floor show was mentioned a couple times, then I can understand what was going on. But it just seemed like a bizarre detour that leads into the sort of main plot of Riff Raff, played by Richard O'Brien, and his sister trying to overthrow Frankenfurter. It just seemed like there were so many big dramatic twists and turns in the story that were not hinted at or just seemed to be random. And granted, the part where Frank's botched experiment, Eddie, played by Meatloaf, crashes the party. When he crashes the party of Rocky being born, that was meant to be random. It at least had a point. But everything else just seemed some crazy development that had nothing to do with anything. And the funny thing is that I actually do really love this movie, but that's more on a so bad it's good level. And a lot of it has to do with Tim Curry's performance as Frankenfurter. While all the other cast members are having this very hammy, over the top tone to their performances, Curry's is just the most infectious because he knows he's crazy. He knows he's evil. He doesn't care. He just wants to have a good time. It's kind of like having that guy who's a bit of a rascal, sort of a sneaky SOB, but he's so despicably likable that you really have no choice but to be on that person's side. And that is a really interesting kind of character. And yeah, Frankenfurter is probably the most interesting character in the movie. Everyone else is kind of sort of a cardboard cutout of other characters from other movies. And so I will say this movie, it became a midnight screening success after the film had bombed at the box office, and at that time midnight movies were becoming popular, so they tried giving Rocky Horror a new life there, and here we are years later celebrating it. And I would still say it's one of those movies you definitely have to see, but don't expect it to be sensible. Don't expect it to make a whole lot of sense. Just go in there. Don't expect anything sophisticated. Just strap yourself in and have fun with the ride. So that was my review, and hopefully this computer isn't an asshole to me when I try uploading this. And yeah, next week I'm not sure what I'm reviewing, but we'll find that out soon enough. See ya.